past me because you know you can get performances like this.
He's looking very comfortable in that offense.
Yeah, you hate him, but you respect him because of what he's capable of doing, and the offense is starting to catch up. But I also think that there is no offense that can look bad with Aaron Rodgers.
I still hate this.
Give him that football.
Hey, 2-5. You know what? My agent actually texted me about that the other day, and he was saying, I love you. You do a great job on TV, and you're only like 2 inches from having 2 Super Bowl rings. No, I'm an Aaron Rodgers away from having 2 Super Bowl rings.
That's fair. So that, just to be clear.
That's not why I picked the Saints, Greeny. But why you keep bringing that up all the time?
I'm not sure I buy that. Meanwhile, I have something else that's new this morning. These comments from Jerry Jones, which I think are very much worth hearing. He did his regular weekly radio appearance, and he's talking about Jason Garrett, and he said the following: I'm there every day. I'm really amazed at any criticism of being that involved, meaning himself. I'm aware of why it comes, but in anything else, you see the owner picking through the trash up. You see the owner walking through, talking to every aspect of the business. Then he says, you know, they're on top of it in there. They're really making everybody accountable. It's important that you have a good relationship. Is it important you have a yes man there from any perspective? That's the question that he brings up. He goes on to say, it's not important to have a yes man. Jason Garrett is not a yes man. I don't say that. I must protest. I say that because he's not. Is Jason respectful of the order of things? Of course he is. So that was a very long-winded way of him saying Jason Garrett is not a yes man. Do you buy that?
I don't buy it. Like, I think Jason Garrett controls the thing that he can control. I think that there's speculation that he gets a little too involved sometimes in the offense. So I think he controls things that he can control. But while Jerry Jones is saying that being around is a good thing, I think that is a good thing. But it's impossible for you to be Jerry Jones and you to be in that building and people not look past Jason Garrett to you for that type of leadership. So he needs to step back. There's no way that Jason Garrett can have full control of this situation as long as Jerry Jones is around there hovering and picking up trash or whatever he said he's doing.
And just because you're not saying yes doesn't mean you're ever saying no. And that's the other thing. You don't have to necessarily amen or follow or say, you know what, I'm going to go with everything you say, Jerry, because you say it, but your actions let him know what you're going to do. If he says something you don't like, if he says something that you think brings you away from your vision for the program, you have to be able to say that. And because Jason Garrett understands the hierarchy, he understands how things are done, he gets how it's going to happen, who's going to pick the players, who's going to make sure who gets the contracts, how we are going to play football. And so though he may not say he's amening everything that I'm saying, he's definitely not protesting those.
Well, and look, let's just look at the dynamic of it here. It is unique because in most cases, a football operation has a coach and a general manager. And if the coach and the general manager have a dispute, someone will step in and mediate that and might side with the coach. But when the general manager is your boss, you don't really have that luxury.
Presumably, you would go to the owner. So, like, let's say GM Jason Garrett has an issue with Jerry Jones, or excuse me, Coach Jason Garrett has an issue with GM Jerry Jones. He's going to go to Jerry Jones. And
That's my point.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
what
like
I'm saying.
The hierarchy is clear, and I think your point about saying no, but we're not in those meetings. Maybe Jason Garrett is polite in public, but he gets behind
the other part is this. I played for who I think is one of the best ownership groups in the history of football, the Rooney family. You never saw Mr. Dan Rooney like this. You don't see Art Rooney like this. They don't have press conference scrums around them after every game. And so some of those things start to weigh on a coach, and you can't help but as a player say, you know what, the biggest voice in the building that I should pay attention to is that one.
Look, I mean, Jerry Jones got rid of Tom Landry, Jimmy Johnson, and Bill Parcells. But Jason Garrett has been there a really long time. It doesn't take that much to figure out there's at least something different in the dynamic. Okay, next we go to another legendary coach. We're talking about Alabama coach Nick Saban. He said there's no real timeline for Tua Tagovailoa's return. Saban said Monday the quarterback had successful surgery on his ankle and will participate in only non-weight-bearing activity for several days before beginning traditional rehab. The big question regarding Tua is, will he be healthy or not to play number 2 LSU in a few weeks? Last year, Tua had surgery after the SEC championship game, missed 2 weeks of time, came back to practice. Alabama had a month off before the playoff, so Tua didn't miss either of Bama's 2 games in January. So it does beg this question as I bring in these guys. This is one of the things I think is so intriguing about college football, because we can just sit here and have this argument right now.
Correct.
If Alabama loses a close game to LSU without Tua and winds up a one-loss team, do they have a chance of getting in ahead of an unbeaten champion of the Big Ten or Oklahoma or Clemson?
No, because they play a terrible schedule. They opened against Duke, which was a miserable team, and that was the only decent game they had non-conference. Another thing that will be held against Alabama, and it shouldn't, but it will, is that twice Alabama has gotten into the playoffs and won once in the BCS era and in the CPF era, the CFP era, by not winning their own division.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about courts where you can keep something out, but Desmond,
Let me give you a different scenario, because LSU does have some better wins.
Sure.
How about if LSU loses an incredibly close game to Alabama, one of these overtime things or something? Do they get in ahead of Clemson, Ohio State, or Oklahoma?
Wow, that's a tough argument. I don't think they've earned the right to get in, but I think you can create a strong argument for them to get in. I think if they lose the head-to-head and have one loss, they may have a stronger strength of schedule than some of the other teams that you mentioned, but still, how do you leapfrog in Ohio State or Oklahoma? You know what I mean? So I don't think they're going to get in.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think LSU would have a more compelling reason because their game is at Tuscaloosa, but the committee will factor in the Tua injury. But I don't think there's any way they'll go against Clemson, even though Alabama and LSU have a better resume. They're not going to keep a defending champion.
Their schedule is what it is, but
they will have to jump either Oklahoma or the Big Ten.
Oklahoma barely got in last year, and they had one loss. A totally different situation. But this committee is very political. Even though they say we're trying to identify the 4 best, they don't care about that.
I mean, no one can argue with Clemson, regardless of their schedule. They will, at that point, they will not have lost a game in 2 years, and they're the defending national champs. It would be impossible to leave them out. Yeah. It would feel to me like Oklahoma, based upon the rest of their conference, would be the most vulnerable.
They would be.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But would LSU, let me just leave it this way. You guys watch every single game every single week. Yep. Is there any question in your mind Alabama and LSU are 2 of the 4 best teams in the country?
Without a shadow of a doubt, they are 2 of the best teams in the country.
None. I mean, they're 2 of the 3 best.
And at the end of the day, isn't that what they're supposed to be trying to accomplish?
Well,
right?
They say the best teams, then you get most deserving teams. That's like splitting hairs.
Sometimes those are the same thing.
Exactly.
All right, on this incredibly busy day, we've got Game 1 of the World Series last night, where 20-year-old Juan Soto got to Garrett Cole, hitting a game-tying home run and 2-run double off the righty to deal the Cy Young contender his first loss in exactly 5 months. In that loss, George Springer homered to become the first player to homer in 5 consecutive World Series games, as well as the first to homer 6 times in his first 8 games in the World Series. And how important is winning Game 1? I'm glad you asked. Teams that take a 1-0 lead in a best-of-7 World Series have gone on to win that series 64% of the time. So the great Jess Mendoza is with us here throughout this World Series. And I'll make this very simple. Obviously, a critical Game 2 tonight. Just finish this sentence. The Nationals will win tonight if what?
They get to Justin Verlander's elevated fastball. No one in baseball gave up more home runs this season than Justin Verlander, 41. And Greeny, as beautiful as his four-seam fastball is, the way that he can elevate that pitch, gets a lot of strikeouts on it too, he also gives up the biggest hits. And we've seen how the Nationals offense like that can turn a game, can come back. They've got hitters. And if they can get to that Verlander fastball like a lot of hitters have done, it doesn't matter how good he is, they win this game.
And then let me flip it to the other side. The Astros will win tonight if what?
The dirty pitch is Steven Strasburg, the changeup. They can't swing at it. Don't do it. Nobody chased more pitches out of the zone than hitters against Steven Strasburg. There's so much talk on his curveball, how good it is, his fastball, but it's the third pitch, Greeny. It's the changeup. He doesn't throw it for a strike only 20% of the time, and it's so dirty, people chase it. We saw it in the NLCS. The Cardinals couldn't touch it. That is the pitch. They lay off of it. They win. Listen,
it doesn't seem like a stretch to say that if you beat the Astros in games that Cole and Verlander start, you have them right up against the wall.
Mentally, where are the Astros going to be?
I agree. It's not a must-win tonight, but it sort of is, I think, for Houston. Okay, we have a terrific show coming your way tomorrow. We hope you'll get up with us right after this Game 2. We will have Cam Newton getting closer to return with the Panthers. They're going to have to make a big decision on him. What'll it be? Ben Simmons working all summer on his outside shot. Why even a little improvement will go a long way. And, of course, all the reaction from Game 2 of the World Series. Get up with us tomorrow, 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Come on, get up.
Hi, I'm Jose Altuve.
Hi, I'm Juan Soto.
Gone. Juan Soto hits it a ton.
Hey, I'm Alex Bregman, and you're watching
Get Up.
Get up.